Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:06 on this Friday morning. Thanks for joining us here on O'Connor and Company, getting your day started the right way. Everything you need to know to launch into your early weekend here. And hopefully with a smile on your face, too, as we ease into this holiday season. The last Friday before Thanksgiving. We've made it. Coming up in half an hour, 7:35, Phil Wegman of Real Clear Politics. 8:15, Julie Donaldson on what should be a Commanders' victory against the Giants, but let's not count our chickens. We've been down this road before. 8:35, Brett Baer, Fox News Channel. That's Patrice Onwuka, and I'm Larry O'Connor. Hey,
Happy
Patrice.
Friday, Larry.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Joining us right now, one of our faves, Adam Kredo. He writes at the Washington Free Beacon, the award-winning Washington Free Beacon.
Yes.
You know, we had the Dow Awards. National Journalism Center has launched the Dow Awards under Young America's Foundation. I sit on their board, and we've got an alternative to the Pulitzer Prize.
Oh, that's
going
awesome.
to, really independent, great investigative journalism. We gave away 3 awards 2 weeks ago. The top prize went to Matt Taibbi and the team that brought you the Twitter Files story. But second place and third place both went to exposés by the Washington Free Beacon.
Oh, wow.
They're
Terrific.
really kicking butt over there. And Adam Kredo covers national security issues specific to the Middle East, and he joins us now. There, Adam, I did tell everyone at the Free Beacon I blew all your horns there. Congratulations.
I certainly will. Thank you.
So listen, let's start with this announcement that the Biden administration, in the wake of the October 7th terror attacks, and with the absolute knowledge that the fungible money that has already been made available to Iran contributes to Hamas and Hezbollah terror attacks against our allies and against Americans, by the way. There are still 9 Americans being held hostage, not to mention the Americans who were slaughtered on October 7th. But they have still gone out of their way to free up sanctions, allowing Iran to access upwards to, $10 billion?
Yeah, that's correct. So these are sanctions waivers, essentially, and what the administration has been doing is issuing them about every 4 months, and it allows Iraq to pay Iran for electricity purchases without facing sanctions. There's about $10 billion that's been held in escrow in Iraq, and this sanctions waiver allows Iran to access the cash. Now, the administration's position is that this is money that will only be used for humanitarian purchases. It's in restricted accounts. But as we all know, and like you said, money is fungible, was the same issue with the $6 billion ransom payment. And that's why the administration refroze it when they were under pressure in the wake of Hamas's attack. So this is even more than that $6 billion. And it's pretty much an exact same scenario with this money. And, another thing that's worth pointing out, even though it's somewhat technical, but I think it's worth explaining to people that with this waiver, it was also issued by the Trump administration. However, the Trump administration had a narrowed version. The money, the payments were kept in an escrow account inside Baghdad, right? The Biden administration broadened it. This money now, since July, when the Biden administration updated the waiver, this money can now move outside of Iraq to Oman and European countries and actually be converted into euros so Iran can more easily make purchases with it.
You know, Adam, staying with the Biden administration making head-scratching policy decisions related that unfortunately have some links to terrorism. I mean, I think it's interesting when we consider the October 7th attacks by Hamas, how it seemed like there was a huge intelligence failure. You know, you might say that on the Israeli side, but also how did American intelligence not find this out? And it's interesting, we've got this piece here talking about the shift in the Biden administration's focus on, frankly, just intelligence to some of the more woke agenda items, like focusing on climate change. Can you talk to us about what you're seeing and how is Congress interested in understanding what's going on in the Biden administration and maybe holding someone accountable?
Yeah, you're right about that, and Congress is very interested in this. And look, in the days following the October 7th attack by Hamas, the White House, actually surprisingly for them, were quite earnest in admitting that this was a massive intelligence failure, not just on the Israeli side, but on the American side. We're supposed to be following this stuff as well, being able to give Israel the heads up. We have a lot of intelligence sharing programs with them, and this would certainly fall into that jurisdiction. But something very interesting happened with the Biden administration, and something very specific to the Biden administration when it took office. When they got in there, they started to put a very big priority on climate change, not just with appointing John Kerry, but also rejiggering U.S. intelligence to focus on climate change. That included appointing a climate scientist for the first time, a Brown University climate scientist for the first time to the president's Intelligence Advisory Board. And this person, according to the White House, was specifically tasked with not just adjusting the intelligence the president sees to have a focus on climate, but also policing the board to make sure that in their intelligence gathering and analysis capabilities, they're focusing on climate. This is something that also took place at the Pentagon as well when they shifted their focus to climate.
We're speaking with Adam Kredo over at the Washington Free Beacon. You also had a story here that I find mind-boggling. You know, everybody after the October 7th terror attack said, where was the intelligence community? Not just Mossad, the highly rated Israeli intelligence, but also American intelligence. We're supposed to be listening for things like this and watching behaviors to have some sort of inclination if a terror attack is being plotted. And it turns out, based on your reporting, that a lot of the resources in Joe Biden's intelligence community has been diverted from doing just that, and instead they're focusing on climate change. That's a Babylon Bee headline, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that in many ways it does sound like that, but in fact it is true. I mean, and the data points are there. It's not just the executive branch, like we said. It's also the Pentagon. In 2021, right after Biden entered office, the Pentagon was putting out reports and saying, quite clearly that we need to put a focus on climate change and battling that as a key national security issue. So this is a wholesale approach by the government to focus and dump resources into battling things like climate change, things that critics say are woke priorities, while shifting away from the more classic intelligence gathering capabilities, which are things like tracking terrorists, tracking what Hamas is doing, and the types of things that would help us detect a plot like this before it happens.
But quickly, help me out. What exactly is the intelligence community? What is the CIA's role, or the National Security Administration, or military intelligence? What's their role in climate change? I mean, are there some sort of carbon emission secret camps out there or something that we're supposed to be finding?
From their perspective, I mean, if we're putting ourselves in their shoes very briefly, they see climate change, the environmental impact of it, as a dire national security issue because it's affecting populations in various countries where this is, in their perspective, in overdrive, and they see it as an issue that could actually impact, the way various nations behave in terms of their defense. I think that they're also seeing that in terms of, the way that their missiles and other weapons might have an impact on climate as well. And, we laugh at it because it is quite laughable. The intelligence community's classic role is also its most important role, and that's detecting things like Hamas trying to slaughter Jews.
Exactly.
Oh, that's a quaint notion. Thanks, Adam. Get back to work
Adam.
now. Now time for you to win an award there at Free Beacon. Let's go.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, honestly, what better award than being a
great
regular
reporting
on O'Connor and Company, though? That's honestly more a reward in and of itself. It's 7:15. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on 5s with James.